Hello, all you beautiful people in Webtown, and welcome back to Crypto Comics. I'm gearing up for the big return this September, but I want to talk about one of the things that I discovered in this journey. This is from my boy Shockwave the Robot. It is Ultra Monthly, issue number 4, because one of the big things we cover here at Crypto Comics, if you don't know, if you're not one of the Crypto Knights, you haven't been around here for years, one of the things we cover is the Ultraverse from Malibu Comics, and we are deep diving into that. Over the course of the next year and a half, we are going to be, way deep diving into the Ultraverse. We're gonna hit all of the touchstones throughout that company's existence before they were purchased by Marvel and then subsequently shuttered about a year and a half later. And this is one of the big standouts from the Ultraverse that I have come to really love. This is Firearm, and I'm excited to look and see what's actually inside this, because I have not opened this since Shockwave sent it to me. And I'm interested in learning about, I think this is it right here. He came out of a Black Ops program called The Lodge. Very hush-hush. Very James Bond. This is Alec Swann. This is Firearm. And this is one of the comics you're really going to enjoy, I think, in the new season of Crypto Comics. Only Human by Elias Hanks. Pink lace in the window, old women with plastic capes, their silver hair slicked against wrinkled scalps, little bits of metal gleaming all over their heads like miserable laboratory monkeys. 20 floor model hair dryers, bright and gleaming new, that cloying smell of wet hair and stale smoke and the secret odors of feminine cabal. "Can I help you, sir?" She wore a pink smock, and her lacquered face hung on her head like a porcelain mask, a perfect painted ghost round image, like a kabuki dancer. I guessed her name was Joyce. "My name is Hanks. I'm a reporter. I'd like to ask you a couple questions." A dozen stories flickered through her eyes. She decided, "Let's talk in the back. I've only got a minute before my 3 o'clock. We crowded into her little office. As we walked past, a hawk-faced woman peered with basilisk eyes over the top of last month's Cosmopolitan, her head surmounted by one of the raging pink hair dryers. Strange path to follow on the trail of a gun-toting British secret agent, a dark character with the codename Firearm. He came out of a Black Ops program called The Lodge. Very hush-hush, very James Bond, with a liberal sprinkling of the fearless vampire slayers for seasoning. Or so I'd been able to piece together from the dozen or so phone interviews I'd made with friends and friends of friends in London. Should have gone over there myself, but Ultra Monthly wouldn't pick up the bill. They'll send Tom Wong to Somalia after Prime, but I've got to do my work by wire, because Firearm doesn't wear a cape. He's not an Ultra. He just acts like one. "What do you want to know, Mr. Hanks?" the pink-shirted woman asked, squinting at me through the haze of her cigarette smoke. "Several months ago there was a tenant upstairs. Swann. Bingo. Alec Swann, a.k.a. Firearm. This was the place, all right. I first heard about him after the Flickcraft case, what with all the fallout from those nasty revelations about the mayor. I was working City Hall at the time. Did a little digging, found out about Swann. Heard about the Firearm name. Hung it on the case. Seems Swann was working as kind of a freelance troubleshooter, or private eye, with Ultra cases as a specialty. More spade work turned up his covert actions background. Never laid eyes on the man, but I filed his name away, in case it came up again. And it did. Wrecked my place," the woman continued. "Who did, miss?" "Miriam. Joan Miriam." Not Joyce, then, but close. "He was only here for a month, maybe 6 weeks, Joan said. I went up to his office once when I got his mail by accident. He had his name on a glass door, like Humphrey Bogart in that old movie. I was lucky to catch him in. He kept strange hours." "What did he look like?" "Handsome, not straight-out handsome, you understand. At least not the first time you looked at him. But he had these electric eyes and a firm set to his face that I liked. Had a scar, too." "When was that?" "Last summer. I was with Mrs. Martin, and I caught a glimpse of someone heading up the stairs to Swann's office. Swann always had the most interesting visitors. Looked like he was wearing a mask, maybe a metal mask." "And then?" "And then the ceiling exploded. Swann and the masked man I saw on the stairs fell down into my shop, along with Swann's couch and a stuffed polar bear. It was weird. Mrs. Martin and I got under the table, and that's the last I remember until the police arrived." "What happened to Swann?"
He came around a few days later and wrote me a check for the damages. He was nice about it.
I was mad at first, but I couldn't stay mad at him for long. There was something about his eyes. He moved out of his office? Yes. Did he leave a number where he could be reached? Let me see. Joan rummaged through a messy desk drawer. Here it is. A card with Swann's name and phone number. The same number I'd gotten from Shadrach, the bail bondsman who'd had his place wrecked by a fight between Swann and a bail jumper named O'Malley. The same number I'd called 3 times, each time stonewalled by an answering service. Another dead end. Al Baker wasn't going to like this. Baker approved my story after I recognized Swann's name in the Wire report about the fight at Shadrach's office. I like the concept a lot, Baker said. I like the idea of a regular guy that keeps getting mixed up in ultra hijinks. But punch it up, Hanks. Our readers want color and action and fury. No downbeat character pieces. You got it? All I had on Swann was a trail of wrecked buildings and a handful of rumors about a fearless guy who used a big gun to equalize the odds against ultra-powered lunatics. That and the telephone number of a friend in Sacramento. 2 hours later, I'd struck gold. Not only had my friend run down the license plate of Swann's Pontiac convertible, he'd also given me the address of the police impound yard where the car was stored. Seems the police report about the car's involvement in an accident came across the wire, even as he was checking the registration. There wasn't much left of the car, not even up close after I'd bribed the lot attendant to let me have a closer look. It had been in a rollover, and a fire. But even through it all, I recognized the distinct signature of bullet holes across what remained of the hood. The police report mentioned 2 vehicles and 6 bodies strewn across 5 miles of road near the intersection of the 210 and 134 freeways in the San Fernando Valley, outside L.A. Most of the bodies had bullets in them. I couldn't get in to see the stiffs, but in my gut I knew none of them was Swann. He was too tough a guy to get himself killed in a freeway shooting. Besides, if he was dead, so was my story. The freeway was a web of skid marks where the accident had occurred the week before. I parked my car on the shoulder and walked through the hot, gray afternoon, trying to envision what happened there. A gap in the catch fencing lining one side of the freeway lured me from the road. Through the fence I could see down into the concrete canyon they called the L.A. River. A black smudge marked the river's dry bottom. A car had gone off the road here and exploded below. But that's not what caught my attention. It was in the bushes, near the fence. Amazing the cops missed it. It was clawed, scaled, reptilian. A hand, and not a human hand. More like a lizard. What you'd expect to grasp if you shook hands with Godzilla. It was covered with flies and leaked a sickly green ichor. One of the fingers was missing, and the underside was blackened as if by fire or explosion. And nothing more. No sign of Swann or what had been attached to that monstrous hand. I hoped the horror show claw would be enough to convince Baker I was onto something, to foot the bill while I followed Firearm's trail. Anyone with a talent for staying in the eye of disaster's hurricane as much as Firearm must have a story to tell. And I'm going to get it, whether Firearm likes it or not. And so this whole book, Ultra Monthly, is written as if it is actually a magazine about life in the Ultraverse. And that's very interesting. Ultra heroes clash while cameras roll. Hollywood. Filming of a new Ultratech commercial starring Prototype was disrupted by a clash between Prototype and Prime. Film crews looked on in horror while the two Ultras wrecked a film set at Pinnacle Pictures Studios, starting a fire that took hours to control and threatening the lives of several bystanders. Ultratech refused comment on the incident. This was the first public appearance of Prototype since his much-heralded introduction ceremonies in August. The introduction of the new model Prototype at an Ultratech stockholders meeting was marred by a battle between Prototype and the ultra-human glare. Tom Kiefer, key grip on the commercial, saw it all. It's hard to light Prototype without getting a reflection. We were behind schedule. Everyone was really tense. I hear an explosion and figure the director is throwing things around again. Then I look up and see Prime and Prototype slugging it out. Prototype got knocked into one of our 10Ks. That's a movie light. That started the fire, I think. Then Proto came back at Prime with his hand blasters and knocked that muscle-bound goof through a wall. It was awesome. The fire quickly spread through the movie set. Prime fled the scene while Prototype rescued trapped crew members and helped contain the fire. This all plays out. Everything we're reading about plays out in the comic books, which is really great. So yeah, very innovative way to market your comic book line. Just looking at Uriel, we'll get to know her a lot more in the future here at Crypto Comics. We'll get to know all the strangers a bit better, but this is the one I like. Gosh. Because losing sucks. So yeah, I just want to give you a little sneak peek here of what's coming up on Crypto Comics' new season starting this September. So don't go anywhere.